just wanted to go over some of these moves recently on the SPY. Um, I've really liked everything that it's been doing. I haven't executed it the best, but things are really making sense to me. And yeah, here I just wanted to go over a couple things. So on this day, we had the really big hammer on the most volume so far, and really big wick. This was a really good signal for a reversal, right? Especially when you tied it in with this bottom here and then this 420 bottom down here. So after this day, I wasn't necessarily bullish, but we knew that this, if this held, we would get a move back up. And really what it did here was great by giving all these inside days. Um, because it could have easily done a three bar pivot and then gone up from here. But this was so much better because what I did essentially is on this day, and then again when we had this day, I started to realize, hey, we haven't turned around yet, but we are caught in this big reversal here. So unless we get underneath here, and then unless we get underneath here, I'm still long biased. So when we were close to down here, I bought a call option for 440, which was the top of the range. And while we were down there, I also bought a put option to go short in case it did fail. Because if it did fail, I felt like that call option would start to degrade really quickly, because I felt like we probably would have a big flush here, and that put would increase really quick, and that would help me save some money on that call. Also, after that, once we started moving up, it might have been on one of these days, I bought another call. So I started to become a little bit more bullish, and I bought another call, which was a little bit cheaper because it was further out. It was for 450. So I was managing my risk. However, I was slightly more bullish by buying that second call. And then on this day, I sold my put when it started going up, and lost a little bit of money on the put, but had both calls. One call for 440 and one for 450. And it worked out exactly how I thought it would, meaning we were in a big range here, which was started with this big day. And then now we had this sort of pullback range, tons of volume. And I was playing it from the bottom to the top. So one of the calls was supposed to make me money from here to here. And then the other one was for the breakout, because I felt like had this range eventually broke, we would make our way up to this 450, which is super clear psych level bottom here. You can see price rip through it. So it was a really good pullback area. And then the next level to me was this 456 area, which is this one right here. I guess 455 maybe as well, but right around there was the next target after 450. So that all makes a lot of sense. I mean, we could still go down. We could have bounced at 450 and came down, and I would have probably bought some more calls right here with the idea that it would hold. And then if it didn't, I think if we got back in here, I think we would definitely go down to the bottom and probably go further. Just because, but I would think it definitely would come down here. And then what it's doing now, I think we're going to see some resistance here at the 456. We'll get a pullback either to back to 450, maybe even down to 440. It's just going to be a big mess here for a while, depending on whether we go long or short. It's going to be a battle up and down both ways. So if we're going to keep going down, it's going to have a lot of movement before going down. And if we're going to go up, I think it's also going to have a bit of movement before going back up, because we have so many resistance areas to get through, and then we have to pull back and retest them and everything. So Yeah. But what I really like, what happened today, which I really wish I would have capitalized more on, was um, getting. I wish I would have gotten long on today, and here's why I think I could have. Sure, we had two strong days in a row, and you could have said that, hey, we're a bit extended here, right? Even if we go up a little bit, maybe we're going to be extended. We're going to need some profit taking, which that's fine. That's a good theory. That's a potential idea. However, you look at the last 2 days, they both closed at high of day, which I need to remember a lot of times that means that it didn't necessarily find value yet. It's still in search of value. And if you look at yesterday's levels, it didn't really have a clear value set. It closed right at the high of the day. But and so and when I compare it to like over here, because I remember really liking this isolated pivot here. Um, we had a nice move up, and this was after a downtrend might have been started here. We had a nice move up. We had a gap up, indecision doji, and then we had a nice sort of 3-bar pivot, range resistance down to the bottom, and then the breakdown. And so I was sort of playing that second day play, which is 2 days of going up. We open, and then the other thing I forgot to mention is having a key level. So I'm pretty sure that up here on this doji day, I really believed in this level here, which was I think 472. And so here on today, I really believed in this 450. And so I felt like, hey, if price can't really get above 450, we're going to have some good profit taking. And we actually did. I mean, it got all the way down to 447 ish. Just like it did on this day, we had a nice move up and then a move down, profit taking. So it did that. But what it also did was gave you a second trade, which was after the profit taking, it came right back up to 450 all day long. It made a really big ascending triangle all day. And I watched it all day long, and you could literally just see it. I mean, it had a clear top on the 5 minute. So it had a clear top of this 451, right? So here you got that pullback, profit taking, and then it started to go up, right? So even though I still wanted it to go short under 450 and then eventually under 451, it just kept making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows over and over and over all day long. It just kept getting bought up. And we just need to notice that stuff because in case something like this happens, which just it makes so much sense. I mean, sure, we felt like it was extended and sure this could have been a rangy day, but not every day is the same. And on today, I mean, we clearly had a compression going on all day long. So whether we didn't want to trade it or not, we needed to realize, hey, sure, it's sticking around VWAP, but it is clearly agreeing that there's a top that it can't break, and there's higher lows that continue to happen. So let's keep an eye on it. And you can do a lot of different things. I mean, you can start building into this position if you really believe that this might break. After this happens, and then after this happens, when it comes down here, you could have a trend line, and even somewhere in here, you could tell yourself, hey, I feel like if this thing continues, we're going to continue this compression. So I'm going to start building in to my position and buying a little bit at a time and waiting for that aha moment, that see it moment. And then we did. We saw it, and you could see clear change in volume. It was in search of value, and it took all day long to build, and there was nowhere else to go than up. I mean, especially once we broke 451, pulled back. I mean, you could have risked all kinds of money here with the idea that this thing was going. I mean, the ATR was like $7, and this thing moved like $3 or something, maybe $4 or something. Here's the ATR right here, and it kept going. So this ended up being a really big ascending triangle, and it just gave you a really big continuation, a day three continuation. And that's just where we have to be flexible, whether we want to trade this or not. We just have to be like, hey, this is making a clear pattern that we know that we're familiar with. So let's keep an eye on it. And sure enough, here you can see that right here, volume comes in, volume continues for 3 minutes in a row, and then you get the pullback. You're above this level, 451, and you're pretty much good to go. I mean, you could have any kind of risk around here, but the idea is that it was most likely going to move pretty high because you had such a big consolidation. The bigger these are, the bigger the moves, and this was like one of the biggest. I mean, this was literally almost the whole day. So this is just so easy to see. It's hard, it's hard to do it in real time. It really is. It's tricky um, when we have a bias, or like for me, I really wanted to short it at the open, and I got a short action. I got a pop down here and made some money there, but all day it was hard for me to turn around and think long, and that's probably something that I need to work on, which is flipping that position, especially after I get a good trade. But man, it was such a good signal, and to at least watch it and get ready. And that's all I got. Thanks.